Hey guys, welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast, episode number 61. I'm Rob, on half of Leading Edge Cricket, and last time out we had a fantastic interview with Jonathan Norfolk, author of Ruling the World, and make sure you go back, listen to that interview. Fantastic interview, goes into depth about what the book is all about, and it's all about this 1992 Cricket World Cup, full of colour. Use the link below to go find it on Amazon today. And joined, as always, by the co-host of the show, Rich.
Hey, I didn't think he was going to get to me then, buddy. You're all right.
You're on a long list at the moment, mate. And I was like, oh, yes, Jonathan. Jonathan's my new best friend.
Line, Rick.
Jonathan's my new best friend. How are you doing today, my buddy?
I'm good. It's fine knowing that I'm at the back of a long queue. It's absolutely fine, Robert. Don't you worry yourself.
I'm all about building people up, mate.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, glad to be back, mate. And cracking interview. Hope everyone had a listen to your chat with Jonathan.
Yeah, superb stuff. And also, joined by a legend on the podcast today, the man that calls himself the world's greatest second-grade, second-team player number 8, as well as the owner of the finest cut shot in the game, Chris Tall.
Google.
Hello, thank you, Bobby.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm very, very well. Excited.
Good to have you back on the podcast, mate. Got a lot of relevancy this, with England going to the West Indies on tour, and indeed. I think it was the last England tour to the West Indies. You were sampling a few rums in the Caribbean.
It was the one before, actually, Rob, going back 2009, not the 2004.
Crikey, time just seems to pass me by, mate. But there's been rumours and murmurs on some of the comments of the podcast on the Facebook page previously about 5 legends. A long time ago, I'm trying to remember which year, 2004, 2005 maybe, 3 of which are on the podcast today, took a legendary cricket tour to Amsterdam.
Oh dear. Happy days. I'm not quite sure how much you can share.
Yeah, well, that's it. I've got written down in my notes here 5 brave gentlemen, 3 on the podcast today. And if you know, my memory's not great, but legend recalls it was Warwickshire against Holland in the whatever the Gillette Cup was called back in the day. And we made the trip out. We went all the way out there for 4 or 5 days, settled into the heart of Amsterdam. You can guess where that is, with a few beers. And how much cricket did we see?
Live?
None.
Yeah.
There was some in the sports bar that we found, though.
Yeah. It just the preparation, the planning to that was just brilliant, wasn't it? It's all his basement. Getting the hotel sorted, getting the flights, getting the ticket. Well, not getting tickets, but knowing where it is. Rotterdam, wasn't it? We had to take a train from Amsterdam to Rotterdam to go and watch the tour. You know, Warwickshire playing in the Netherlands. And we got to Rotterdam. Oh, it's raining. Let's just sit in a bar for a while. They'll never play. Let's go back to Amsterdam. And then by the time we got back, it was delayed start playing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then they won by the time we got off the train, I think.
Honestly, one of the best weeks of my life. Absolutely superb.
It was. I'm not sure we can count it as a cricket tour, though.
We were on tour.
And for cricket, but if you don't see any cricket even, can it be classed as a sporting trip or tour? That is the question.
Questions. I don't know.
Who cares?
I don't know. But there were great times. Maybe one day someone will write a book about it and there'll be a lot of gaps because no one can remember what the hell went on. And then we can interview about it, and it'll be a pretty in-depth interview with a lot of gaps. But let's kick straight into it then, gentlemen. Let's go to England, West Indies.
Exciting times, buddy. Exciting times, isn't it? Kicks off tomorrow?
It is. It's currently the 23rd here, and it kicks off on 24th, about 3 a.m. New Zealand time. Can't wait. Perfect time.
Let's not confuse everybody with our 24th start, mate. It's the 23rd it starts.
It starts tomorrow, Bobby.
Bridgetown, Barbados, and then second test, North Sound.
Absolutely.
And then third test at Gross Islet. I love that. So Tawley's going to tell us where those 2 venues are.
Well, North Sound is the home of the shortest ever test match. And Gross Islet is in Lucia.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Wow.
Looking forward to it. It should be a good one. Big fan of preparation. So obviously England have been there for weeks, acclimatising, getting used to conditions, playing against the local. The ball, which Tawley is dead excited about talking to us about. But no, I'm not going to bother with all that because obviously, as usual, the preparation's been next to nothing. A day of batting, day of fielding, 15 men having a run around.
Absolutely.
It is what it is, isn't it? It's a bit of a shambles. It's like a tour game. We're not going to worry about. And I mean a tour game in the other sense of the tour word name, not a proper tour. So it is what it is, isn't it? But we're all looking ready. We're looking ahead. Somebody in this room, Tawley, he keeps talking to me about the ball. Apparently the ball is going to be very important, Rob. Do you know about this?
I have no idea about the ball. I assume it's going to be red, Tawley.
It is. It's going to be a Duke's ball.
Dukes.
So there's a scheme. I don't know why, but the head of West Indies cricket has decided to go for not only a Duke's ball, but a special one made for the climatic conditions of West Indies.
Wow, what's he going to do?
Well, Jimmy Anderson says it still swings after 60 overs, which is why they got 22 wickets in a day. So this could have quite a large bearing on what actually happens.
Don't settle down for too much cricket, is that what you're saying?
I'm thinking England could be absolutely dominant if the conditions are right.
Yeah, when Brody got himself a hat trick in one of the warm-ups, probably should mention that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, he's bowled very well, and a couple of players scored a few runs, so that's all looking good.
Yeah, bit of a strange one, isn't it? Trying to, for want of a better term, it's like reinventing the wheel, isn't it? It's a cricket ball, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Why do we need a special ball? Just keep. No, I don't know.
I'm sure that used to happen. It used to happen in nets. I know they did. I can remember my brother turning up to net, and he'd had the shine on the ball for a week and been roughing up the side, and the ball was boomeranging around the nets, and I didn't enjoy that.
No, or when some pillar could rub a bit of sun cream on it at nets or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bizarre thing to get stuck into, because generally with cricket you've got the Dukes and you've got the Kookaburra, and you take a ball out of the box and it's like bang, let's go. There must be something in the ICC, the laws of cricket, that go, you cannot manufacture your own cricket ball, otherwise every country would be doing it.
Yeah. And the one thing I can guarantee, though, no matter who invents the ball or who makes the ball, it'll still be better than the balls we have to use in the local league.
Always.
Always. Oh, bit of South Notts heat there.
Bit of South Notts heat. Stop swinging after 6 overs.
Exactly. So we're going to have a different ball. It's still going to be red. It's still going to be round. But the England bowlers would hope to be able to hoop it. West Indies obviously will also be hoping for the same thing. But I think people like Jimmy Anderson, Sam Curran, Broad, if he plays, depending if they go with 2 spinners or not, are going to be expecting massive things with that. I think probably the best place to look now is the touring English team, Rob. The lineup. The talk is at the minute, the rumours are that Curran could be just ahead of Broad, and also it could be Leach instead of Rashid.
Wow, that's they're pretty brave calls, to be honest, because one, Stuart Broad has been outstanding for England for you've got to give him probably 10 years of service now, maybe a little bit less. But Sam Curran does give you extra batting factor, which Brody used to give you. But also Rashid to be dropped after being a horses for courses selection against India and then doing superbly against Sri Lanka with both bat and ball. I feel that's slightly hard on the lad.
Oh, I think if you look at it, what's actually happened is Folkes has forced his way in, and he's actually meant now that England can't go with the extra bowler. Whereas before, when it was Bairstow, England could play the extra seamer, 2 spinners quite happily. Now, there's one place left because Folkes and Bairstow are both in.
Yeah.
And it means they're having to drop a bowler. Curran, obviously, he offers a bit with a bat, but I also think the left arm angle might come in.
Yeah.
Which could be useful.
Yeah, and you've got Anderson and Stokes having your 2 kind of more, right arm overs as well. So it's a nice varied bowling attack, really, isn't it? Especially when you mix in Sam Curran. Love Brody, don't we? But if he does miss out, it won't be, it's not going to be the end of the world because it is Sam Curran. It's not the other bloke that's on tour, and I don't mean Wokes. We all love Chris Wokes, especially Warwickshire over here. But who's that other bloke who's just got a call up on tour? Do you see his name?
Your bestest friend in the whole wide world, the man that everyone rates because he bowls 86 mile an hour short balls, but he's no Neil Wagner. It's Mark Wood.
Mark Wood, one for
Mark Wood. I'm not surprised that he's been called into the squad as cover for Ollie Stone. One, I like the fact that they picked Ollie Stone over him and they've gone kind of Mark Wood. Yeah, you're not performing to our level. Sure, he's going to still be around the squad. It's like, if a couple of batsmen went down, James Vince would probably still get a call up because he scored some runs in the Big Bash. It's kind of like, just because you're out, you're not fully out. You're still on the fringe of the team.
Well, now, if you want to get a game for England Test side, you've got to go away somewhere and score some solid 2020 runs. T20, anywhere in the world, score some runs. That's how you get a pick up in the Test side now. It's strange, isn't it? But yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm really pleased Ollie Stone got the call up. Initially, really good player. Obviously, he is another one that has elastic bands snapping all over the place. Yeah. The man can't stay fit.
I think it's a worry in English cricket at the moment. There's a lot of very good young fast bowlers that we've got coming through. And for whatever reason, they all seem to be getting injured.
Yeah, I always make sure that I don't get too attached. I always remember Timor Mills or Timor Mills, whatever you want to call him, when he played against, I think it might have been England A, playing against an England. So was it Lancashire against England? I can't remember. It was like a warm-up game a while ago. And I just remember this guy coming in, steaming in, left arm over, just bumping Graham Swan and some of the England boys. And he looked incredible. And then he's another one. He just can't stay fit. Obviously, he was not going to be any good in the longer form of the game. And we kind of go back to the pack again, don't we? Whenever we seem to find these guys that got a little bit of extra juice and a bit of, those extra wheels, they can't stay fit, they can't sustain it, and we miss out.
Do we over-manufacture our bowlers more than any other country? Do we think that's the problem? You look at Jimmy Anderson when he came on. He was outstanding at that 2003 World Cup. We chatted about it offline, I think. And then all of a sudden, he kind of went into a dip of form whilst they tried to tinker with his bowling action. Like, do we over-manufacture these things rather than letting someone that's fast go bowl? You've got a natural action.
To a point, yeah. I suppose the other thing, though, is when you're a quick bowler coming through, especially in county cricket, you're going to get a lot of wickets just because you're quick.
Yep.
The ball, a bit of early Mitchell Johnson, really, isn't it? Scattering it around everywhere, but he's going to scare the life out of people. Dangling bats out, nicks off left, right, and centre, like James Vince Day. And but sorry, I shouldn't be mean. But when you step up, probably Jimmy found it as well. Is people are used to a little bit extra pace, aren't they? They're used to it, and they will put the bad balls away. So whatever happened to Jimmy over those 2 or 3 years after he first made the step up into international cricket. It did him all right. So a little bit of tinkering here and there is probably not a bad thing when you're a bowler that needs a little tinkering.
I think for me the biggest worry isn't necessarily the bowlers staying fit. It's the timetable in the first-class cricket in England. You've got all the first-class cricket right at the start when any green-seaming trundler can get wickets, and then right at the end. And the time when you want your quick bowlers operating, we're playing T20, the 100, and whatever else. And realistically, if we want to create bowlers that can go and play first-class cricket and bowl fast, they've got to learn their trade in the best conditions here to do it.
Yeah.
And we're not giving them the opportunity.
Yeah. It's a shout, that.
Yeah, I think that's a completely different podcast where we could get into the structure of the English game and how the seasons are actually rolled out. Because one thing's for sure, everyone's got a great opinion on it, and I think, to be honest, we all can do it better than what it is at the moment. I just want to roll back to one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Torley, and it was about Folkes and the fact that he scored runs in Sri Lanka and he's forced his way into this England team, right? And he's undroppable. He scored that fantastic 100.
Absolutely.
This England team has been crying out for someone that can come in and score runs for so long. So it's an incredible problem to have. But I'm just going to put stuff out there because I'm still not sold on Keaton Jennings at the top of the order. And I'm just going to make a call in and go, if we need the extra bowler, don't we drop Jennings and put Root up to open?
So you mean Jennings, the bloke that was going to be man of the series?
But he didn't quite get there. He didn't quite get there.
So, just in case anyone's not aware, which tour was that? Was that Sri Lanka, Rob, or which tour was it?
That was the Sri Lanka, but before the tour, I was going, this guy shouldn't be in the England setup, shouldn't be in the England setup, and it was almost like I was hedging my bets going, he shouldn't, but I've got a feeling he might prove me wrong, so I'm going to say he's going to be the best player.
Exactly. Now, I like where you're coming from with that, actually, because it's the obvious one, isn't it? So you're looking at a team, you've got Bairstow, Butler and Folkes, 3 wicket keepers in that side, 3 really, really good frontline batsmen, you could almost say. So there is scope there, isn't there? I mean, there could be a ridiculous left field selection where actually Folkes doesn't play and the gloves go to somebody else. I can't believe that will happen. No. I can't believe Butler will be dropped. And Bairstow's slotted at number 3. And whilst Joe Root doesn't want to bat there, well, nobody else is going to bat there. And when you've got Stokes at 5, it is a decent batting lineup, but it's Stokes at 5 is still a little bit high for my likes. Yeah. So I can't see where they're going to tweak other than that opening pair. But then who would you open with? If you didn't remove a Jennings or a Burns.
The problem is there's no heir apparent for anyone in the top 3. No. If any one of those top 3 has a bad series, who do we replace them with? There isn't anybody obvious sitting there to come in and do that job. I'm not so worried about the fact that they're not necessarily performing well from in the top, because we've managed to get out of jail with 7, 8 and 9. Consistently, so it's a bit of a horses for courses.
So basically, what Tolly's saying is, as long as Sam Curran's in, we're going to be fine. Well,
Sam Curran, bit of Moeen Ali, runs are plenty. Folkes down there bails us out a bit.
Yeah.
But what's interesting for me is those guys at 1, 2, and 3 not only are they playing now for England in an important test, but there's pressure on them for the Ashes coming up.
Yeah.
Massive pressure. If they can stamp it out now, they're booked in for the summer. So there's real pressure for those top three to nail down their position. So it'll be interesting to see how they cope with that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's no cricket. There's no test match cricket between now and the Ashes, right? So a bad fail here, and you're in a bit of a mess.
Yeah, and there'll be nobody wanting to be rested or dropped in this series as well. Broad might be missing out. If he's seeing that as being rested, he will not be wanting that because he'll want to be making sure he's front and centre as we go into the summer, isn't it? So,
absolutely.
Should we just have a quick look at what we think the 11 will be? We've spoke about it a little bit.
Yep.
So we've got an opening pair of Rory Burns and Jennings. Obviously, Burns new to Test cricket. Burns and Jennings. Johnny Bairstow sort of got that number 3. Joe Root, the captain, at 4. We're thinking Ben Stokes will slot in at 5 again. Josh Butler 6. Ben Folkes 7. I'd imagine it'll be 7 as wicket-keeper batsman. And then Moeen Ali at 8. Sam Curran 9. Leach 10. And Jimmy Anderson 11. So that's pretty strong batting down to number 9. Tough luck, Leach and Anderson. You don't count. Although Anderson, like we said last week, Rob, he might, if he can just nibble a few runs, he could average over 10 soon.
I know, that'll be a career. It puts him in a different category. He's no longer tail ender batsman. He's lower order if you average over 10 in my eyes.
Well, I'm sure when he started off, he averaged a lot more than that.
He did, yes.
Because he was never out. Yes. I think he had one out in about his first 20 innings and had an absolutely ridiculous average.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's got a higher first test score than his great mate Swanee, hasn't he? Which I think causes much mirth between.
Yeah. So it's a strong England team. Now the question is, so Torley again was chatting before we came on air about this series, and obviously you've been there. The last time England won back in West Indies, you're going all the way back to that famous 2004 series, and now England. Yeah. I just want to put this on the table. England have got a fragile batting lineup. We know that. We've seen it for the last 18 months, and the guys are still in there trying to fix it. In the West Indies, we've got a reputation for collapsing. We've seen it on every single tour pretty much. Going back to 1994 when Walsh and Ambrose blew us away for 47, 46, however many it was. Have we? Because we look here and we go, oh yeah, we back down tonight. Are we really putting a hat on going, this is a really good England batting lineup? Is that what we're saying? Do we think they're good enough to go and beat this West Indies team?
I think there's some gaps, Rob. We still, let's be honest, we're unknown with the two openers. We're not sure yet if Bairstow is really a number 3. And then I think outside of that, you'd probably say, well, yeah, Root at 4. Stokes might be a place too high. But the rest of them, from there on down, are strong. Yeah. For their positions. It's just that top 3, I would suggest that we have some concerns about.
Yeah, we'll go on to it in a minute. We've got a little bit of an update with England Lions, haven't we? But there's obviously one bloke in particular that has kind of knocked himself out of the reckoning just for the time being, at least, and that it's Joe Clark. You look at someone like him and you would have said that he must be very, very close to getting the call. Ideally suited for that, probably that number 3 role almost, potentially.
Yeah, definitely.
But obviously with his misdemeanors, whatever you want to say, has just knocked himself back. So yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's nobody really obviously there. So this is for that top 3 to nail it down as their own.
So this West Indies bowling lineup then, led by your mate
Jason Holder, who again, don't want to spoil it, but Test Team of the Year, Jason Holder, he got himself in there. Shannon Gabriel, he's got some gas, hasn't he? He's a quick bowler. Alzari Joseph, a young fella, he's coming through. Kemar Roach as well, he's a nice bowler. He's got some wheels about him still as well, hasn't he? And then you've got one or two others, Jamel Warwick and Rob.
It is a good bowling lineup. And the one thing that the West Indies have never been short of is express pace. And they've got that in Gabriel. Kemar Roach was probably a little bit quicker a few years ago, but still got the wheels. But they just, you never know what you're going to get. And like we've said before, England, West Indies, there's every chance that England can get blown away by something that's seriously quick.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right. I think that first batting dibs with Kemar Roach, he's very skilled, he knows what he's doing, not as quick as he was, and Shannon Gabriel, who's going to be bowling very quick, absolute gas. If they get 2 or 3 down early, like you say, Rob, the West Indies at home, let's not forget, they're very difficult to beat. You know, we keep going on every time that we go to the West Indies thinking, oh, they're in turmoil, we're going to go absolutely through them. And we've only beaten them once, you know, away. That they obviously can play at home conditions. So, you know, you're right. I think that's going to determine the actual Test series, is how those top three bat against the West Indies seamers.
Yeah. And with the ball as well, we spoke about the ball. Was, you know, what are the surfaces going to be like? Are they going to be quick tracks? Are they going to be relatively ordinary medium tracks that are going to encourage some batting? But if there's a bit of pace in the track, the ball's going to do a little bit. You've got then the likes of Roach and Gabriel testing the top three. If they can get them down a couple of wickets down for not many with that new ball, then it is game on, isn't it? And you've got, you know, the backup, the X factors, the Alzari Josephs, etc. It's going to be an interesting one. And I think, like I say, Jamal Warrican's there, the spinner option. They've got a Shamar Brooks, who I know nothing about whatsoever. He's a leg break bowler. No, actually, he's more of a batsman. I do apologise. So it just depends what they've got to back up that opening partnership. On the other side of it, they're not going to be mugs with a bat either. Darren Bravo's back in, isn't he, after a long, long time being out? Holder's there as an all-rounder. Craig Braithwaite. Shane Dowrick is a decent player. Shai Hope is one of the kind of star men for them, in this setup. So they're not going to be mugs. I think England, we're just assuming, not us, but I think in general, we're just assuming that this is going to be a relatively straightforward tour, especially after Sri Lanka. And it probably should just be reminded, actually, of what an incredible achievement that was in Sri Lanka. So it's not like England have wintered badly this year.
Yeah. One of the things that strikes me about West Indies cricket, it's almost similar to the Pakistani team at times, where they've got an immense amount of talent. And you'll see them and they'll come and blow someone away. Or you'll see the next young West Indian batsman come through and score 100 in Australia against the odds. They will do that. It's the consistency factor that the West Indies cricket team lack, which is one thing that the top teams like your Indias and your New Zealands and England's a few years ago that always had. And it's young, it's inexperienced, but on the day, there's no reason why West Indies can't go and score 500. There's no reason why they can't bowl England out pretty damn short.
Yeah, 100%, mate. It's going to be a good series, I reckon. And it's on at a nice time for us over here. It's like a 1 p.m. start. So get home from work, soak up some of that sunshine as we're getting first flurries of snow over here. So it's going to be gorgeous, mate. I'm ready for this one. I wish I was there, to be honest with you. And I suppose that just smoothly takes us in, doesn't it, Rob?
It does.
Links us nicely across. Somebody's already been there, haven't they? This man here, Chris Tall, Google Tall.
Oh, joyous.
He spent some time over there, and I think we need to know a little bit about what this tour is going to be like for the England fans, what it's like watching cricket in West Indies, and just make...
I'll be honest, I was very, very lucky to go to the West Indies in 2009. I was booked into 2 Test matches, which rather hastily became 3 for obvious reasons, which I'll explain. I'll say I didn't know what to expect. I'd only ever watched cricket in England, and I went over there and I had a field day. I'd heard that cricket was dying in the West Indies, that the people weren't interested. Nothing could have been further from the truth. From the moment you got off the plane to the moment you caught a bus into Kingston, Jamaica, everyone was talking cricket. Everyone wanted to know what was going to happen. Everyone was politely telling you that you were going to get beaten. There was nothing nasty about it. We went to Jamaica at first for the first test there. It was a decent deck. England batted first, got about 300 odd. I think Peterson got 90 something.
Well batted.
Flint 40 odd, Pryor 60. About 318, I think that was what they got. And I remember the night before, I was staying in the Jamaican Pegasus Hotel, and what you find is when you go on to these smaller islands, you get thrown in with everybody else. I was on an organised tour, and in my hotel with the West Indies cricket team and the Sky Sports team. And the hotel next to me was the Jamaica Hilton, and that had the BBC TMS special team and the England team. And the England team would come and have lunch at our hotel in the evening, whilst the West Indies boys were in the swimming pool. And it was just random. It was very peculiar when you'd had a few too many rums to be looking around and seeing all these greats.
So who was, obviously with all that, we've got to now pick it out. We're going to name and shame. Praise and shame as well. Who was like the most approachable? Who was the kind of guy that seemed like the nicest fella, and who was the bit of a dick wandering around?
Well, actually, there weren't any idiots there. Everyone was totally approachable.
Good.
I do remember that after the Test match, I'm sure it was Fidel Edwards' birthday, and they were all going out on town and seeing Chris Gale in all his gear and get up. And the West Indies back then, they were together. Not surprised considering the result, but on the eve of the Test match, a very drunk me was talking to Mr. Nasser Hussain in the lift, and basically we thought, like we think now, being England supporters, that England will just roll them over and it won't be a problem. And back then, of course, the West Indies were in decline. They'd only got 3 batsmen. They'd got Gale, they'd got Chanderpaul, they'd got Sarwan, and all the others were making up the numbers. Unfortunately, in their first innings for the West Indies, Sarwan got a ton, Gale got a ton, and then England went to bat again and got skittled out for 51 by the best fast bowling I have ever seen in Jerome Taylor.
I was going to say that was Jerome Taylor. Yeah.
It was interesting. There I was, sat in a massive stadium, surrounded by West Indian fans singing "London Bridge is Falling Down." And I tell you what, I was glad that I wasn't in the Gabba.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine that the songs that I would have got that day to watch England getting skittled for next to nothing would not have been as polite. But yeah, it was a fantastic setup, and one that everybody should go and do if they get the opportunity to just travel and watch their team play.
Too right. I'll second that for sure, man. I've been looking up to a few, but West Indies, that's the one, isn't it? That is the one.
Gotta be.
Yeah, it just sounds incredible. So, no, I don't know. I've done a little bit of research on this, but wasn't it a 4-match tour that ended up being almost a 5-match tour?
That is correct, Rob.
And isn't there a little bit of something in that second game that might be worth mentioning?
It was interesting. We'll say that after getting thoroughly demoralised and skittled for 51, and the West Indies 1-0 up when we were absolute favourites to win the series, we all went off to Antigua, honeymoon capital of the world. I had a nice little beach hut, and I,
with your dad,
as many gins as I wanted, and
with
all
his dad.
With my dad, but who cares? And whilst we were there, whispers were happening before the first test. Whispers were happening that people were going not to the ground where it should be, North Sound, but people had been shown around the Antiguan recreation ground where Lara had scored his 375 and everything else, which was a bit peculiar. And I remember going on the first day of that test to this brand spanking new stadium built in a swamp in the middle of nowhere by Chinese, to sit there and watch. Now, what surprised me was that West Indies won the toss and then put England into bat on an absolute road. And I still think that there's more in this than anyone's letting on. It might just be my conspiracy theory. But within 10 balls, well, let's be honest, within the first over, the bowlers were practically walking in and bowling. After 10 balls, the game had been cancelled because the run-ups were on sand and the actual fast bowlers could not run in.
Wow.
So the second test that never really was, where England was 7 for none after 10 balls, was considered as a drawn test. And then 2 days later, as if by magic, the Antigua recreation ground was open for business, and England played a test match there. And surprise, surprise, from there on in, every batting wicket was an absolute road, and the West Indies were getting 500 every innings. England were getting 500 every innings. You could argue that maybe being 1-0 up helped prepare wickets, but that would just be me being bitter.
Yeah. Can confirm he's wearing a foil hat.
That's incredible, eh? They obviously know what's going on the whole time.
I did. I'm absolutely convinced, because in 2 days they had a day off and then everything was set up at Antigua at the recreation ground, ready to go.
They knew what was coming.
It just seemed very strange. It was almost like the West Indies said, well, we've won the toss, but we're bowled because it's going to be our bowlers that are going to say we can't bowl on this because it's our home ground and our mess. I'm not sure, but it just felt like that to me. Everyone was talking about it the night before the test. Is it going ahead? What's happening? What's happening over at the recreation ground? Why are the camera crews going over there? Why are they painting the lines? Why are they doing this, that, and the other? It was just bizarre. But to be fair, I went on holiday for 2 Test matches and I saw 3, so it's a bit of a win-win, really.
Absolute bargain, mate. Yeah, absolute bargain. It's good. It's interesting. West Indies team bus turns up at the wrong ground. What are they doing at that other ground, lads?
Yeah. I wasn't supposed to know this.
Yeah. So flicking away back to this tour then, chaps. So if we're going to hold a hat out and start to make some predictions for this Test series, not just this Test, but the Test series, what are we thinking?
Ooh, Chris, as the guest, we'll let you go first.
Oh, thank you very much.
Also, because it means I can listen to you guys first.
I'd like to be impartial, but I just think England at the moment, they're in a strong place bowling-wise. And although they've got that little bit of a problem at the top, if those 3 fire for 1 Test, they'll win that Test. It's as simple as that. That's my belief. So I'm going to go for 1-0 England.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 England. I think the West Indies are going to be hard to beat, but I think England will win definitely 1 Test out there. Now, whether or not they can bat long enough in the other 2 and not have a terrible session where they end up 51 all out again, that's the question. But I'm going to be brave and say 1-0 England.
Rob, what about you?
You know what? I was sat there thinking I might go 1-0 here. I think there might be a couple of draws. And now Tolly's gone 1-0. It kind of changes things. So I'm going to put my hat out there and go, I am going West Indies 1, England 1. I think there will be a drawn series, a drawn Test somewhere in the mixer, but I actually think England will start well, but I've just got a feeling there'll be one game, there'll be one innings that the West Indies have that absolutely change the context and the complexity of the series, and it will finish 1 apiece.
Right, I'm going to go for it. 2-1 England, and there's not going to be any rain. It's going to be gorgeous sunshine, conch shells, whatever you call them, blowing everywhere, rum flowing. Amazing. 2-1, job done.
2-1-2.
England, come on, man.
I've just got to be very clear about these things, mate, if I don't ask the questions.
Well, you were right too. So, yeah, I think, going to be a hell of a series. Can't wait for it. And, 2-1. I'm confident.
Yeah.
Totally confident.
Gonna be
he says, as he keeps trying to convince himself of his confidence.
You've got to be, because this is the marker that sets off one of the most important summers of English cricket in memory.
It's very true.
True. If England get off to a roll now in the West Indies, and then they carry that on, we could be having a whale of a time come September.
Tolly's basically saying we're going to win the Ashes and win the World Cup this summer if we do all right in the West Indies.
I'm not going to say the World Cup. I think the Ashes...
No, you said it.
No, you said it. You said, I'm holding you to that. You are on record.
I think we've got a good chance.
Yeah,
we do.
Love it.
So with England going out there, Rich...
Yep.
And then we spoke about the next wave of players coming through as was talking about this top 3. You mentioned the England Lions.
I did, yes, I certainly did. And it's just one bit of news, isn't it, really? We've already had a little bit of up and down with the squad in ins and outs with Kohli, Cadmore and Joe Clark being told to stay at home. Will Jacks was called up, as was Tom Moores, the Notts wicketkeeper batsman, relation of Peter Moores. Probably very important to add that. He's had to pull out. So instead of looking around the counties, basically it seems like it's got to be one out and 1 in from Notts. Yeah. And Notts captain Steve Mullaney's been drafted into the Lion squad for the limited overs leg, it should be said. Yeah. He's a 32-year-old Lion, is Mullaney. So delighted for him, mate. He's been a cracking cricketer, one of the most underrated county cricketers on the circuit. So a bit of a surprise caller, but maybe they just wanted that little bit extra experience. And he was on the tour last winter, wasn't it? Well, north, south, and all sorts.
Skipper.
Might well have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to send someone out there with, that's perhaps not pushing for England honours, but can act as, a senior pro, because there's some very good young players in there, but they need somebody else in that dressing room to look up to. And I think Mullaney will settle that ship quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Solid character, solid cricketer, but even better in the one-day arena. It's almost rolling back the years. When you get a dibbly-dobbly, middle-order, sort of middle-over sort of bowler that can just, he's bowling at, 100k or whatever it is, and he's going to bowl his 10 overs, might pick up a wicket, go for 40, 45, and just not let the game get away in the middle. He's that sort of bowler for this England Lions team, a senior performer, and he's a great batsman and an all-round top bloke, accordingly.
Yeah, once upon a day, mate, he would have played quite a few ODIs by now for England, or at least quite a few 2020s with that style of bowling. But it's not what people seem to want. It's not flavour of the month anymore, is it? But really destructive batsmen in the one-day arena as well. So they will be, well, they are already up against, aren't they, Indian A? And it's not. They've got some decent names in this squad. There's a few in there that we're not sure of, but there's certainly a few names that we are aware of, including Hanuma Vihari and Ajinkya Rahane, who's captaining for the first 3 one-dayers. Ishan Kishan's in there, Krunal Pandya. The more sensible sibling of the Pandyas at the moment. Siddharth Kaul, Shardul Thakur as well, who was obviously touring England in the summer. Mayank Makande as well, who had a pretty good IPL last year, if memory serves. He's in my brain for something anyway, so it must be that. 4th and 5th one days, we've got a bit of a change-up. You've got the likes of Rishabh Pant coming in, and Shardul Thakur as well, Deepak Chahar, Axar Patel, one or two others. Love this name, Siddesh Lad. I bet he's a right fella. Lad. Yeah, and that's the one-day stuff. And then it goes into the board 11. They've got a 2-day warm game before a little bit more. And Ishan Kishan is captaining that one with not too many names that we're aware of. Dhruv Shori and one or two others maybe. But it's going to be a really competitive kind of little mini tour here for England Lions. And it's going to be a heck of a test for some of our boys. So.
It definitely is, mate. It separates the men from the boys, and they've done a really good job of creating this next level of cricket. Because when you look at this Indian team, you go, holy moly, there's some players here, some serious players, and players get elevated around the world from different aspects of the game. A lot of these guys have been elevated name-wise from playing in the IPL, and all of a sudden these England Lions players that might not be good enough to play IPL are going up and playing against guys that have got an ODI to the name. They've got 4 years of IPL experience. It creates a really good next layer of the game.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I reckon as well. I think it wasn't that long ago that India, we were looking at the Indian setup and looking at them going, do you know what, they're a little bit old.
Yep.
They're a little bit older. And now suddenly, it's not taken long for the likes of Prithvi Shaw and Rishabh Pant and one or two others to start getting in that team. And people are going to get addicted to it. Once you start putting these young players in and they have success, you want to see more young players come in and have success. And, there's going to be more and more. I think, was it one of our friends, Rivlud, he was talking about Shubman Gill as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Somebody that might be on the verge. Obviously, Prithvi Shaw we've spoken at length about. But there's going to be some of these players in this India A that we're probably going to be knowing a heck of a lot more by the time the IPL finishes and we're ready for the next bout of Test cricket or international cricket for India.
I think this is what's interesting is that they seem to have picked 2 squads. And part of me is thinking how much of this is looking at the little gaps that they've got in their World Cup setup.
Yeah.
So there's something for these guys to play in. There's going to be a massive tournament this summer, a huge tournament, and you've got all these guys now playing, and it's not just the one squad. There's quite a lot of players there, and they're good players.
Yeah.
And there's something for them to play for.
Yeah. No, definitely, and we're looking forward already, aren't we, Rob, to start previewing the IPL?
Yeah, can't wait. So it was pretty special last year. Last year was probably the most I've been engrossed into the whole campaign, from the draft through the whole campaign, through to the finale. You learn so much about kind of the next generation of players and seeing how the overseas players do over there as well.
Yeah, massively, yeah. I think obviously from our point of view, the pod was quite new at that point, and that was the first time we'd probably looked in depth rather than just being spectators. So it's really interesting. I'm properly looking forward to it. We'll have to get the predictions going again this year, mate, like we did on Facebook last year, and obviously we'll do the preview as well, where I absolutely massacre everybody's names.
It sounds perfect. I want to pick one name out of this Indian team and go, why isn't he touring New Zealand at the moment? So the first one-day international match is actually today as we record this, between India and New Zealand down in New Zealand. Rishabh Pant. That man is a superstar in IPL. That man is a superstar, and we'll get onto it next, Test Team of the Year. Why is he not in this team to tour New Zealand and being able to get a couple of one-days under his belt before the World Cup rolls around?
Answers on a postcard. I've got no idea, mate.
It's
Chris,
like... No idea.
No.
Lots of people have been asking the same thing, Rob, after the Australian series.
Yeah.
They want to know, where is he? Why is he not here?
Yeah.
And then he was flown back and drafted into the sort of second squad against the Lions.
Yeah.
Not really sure.
There's an argument to be made. He's a good enough batsman. Forget about the wicketkeeper. And obviously, you've got Mahendra Singh in there, who's doing pretty well at the moment. And we will just touch on what's happening in the ODIs between India and Australia in a moment. And we've also got the other finisher as well, whose name's just escaped me for a moment. The other wicketkeeper batsman,
Karthik.
Dinesh Karthik. So you've got couple of pretty good white ball kind of wicketkeeper batsmen there. So I suppose that could be a bit of an embarrassment of Richards, not Richards, an embarrassment of Richards.
It is, but it sure will be a cracking series and one that we'll cover on the pod.
So as we mentioned, that Australia had been hosting India, and that's just been wrapped up, hasn't it? I think we covered off the first couple of ODIs, Rob, last time we spoke, but it's just worth going over before we also talk about the third. So it was 1-1 after 2. Australia won the first one by 34 runs. Rohit Sharma 133, Jai Richardson 4 for 26, man of the match was plenty for Australia. India 6-wicket win in the second game, 4 balls remaining. Shaun Marsh 131, but old Virat Kohli 104, easy game in it, man of the match, and Mahendra Singh as well, Dhoni 55 not out. He carried on the great form in the third ODI with an 87 not out. He was joined at the end by Kedar Jadhav 61 not out to pick Australia. 7-wicket win, 4 balls remaining again. To knock off the 230 from Australia. Hanscom, 58. He's done all right in this series, actually. Should just be mentioned. 73 in the first game, 58 in the last one. And Yuzvendra Chahal, 6 for 42 in the man of match award for India. When you've got MS Dhoni hitting 87 not out and a bowler gets the man of the match, you know you've done something right.
Yeah, Dhoni's he's a different level to any other finisher in world cricket. It's the way he paces his innings for me. Like, sometimes you see him, he's trying to hit the leather off the ball and quite often does into the stands. But other times, he's just about reading the game. And it's a very fundamental part of the game. And he goes, if I'm here at the end, we're going to win this game of cricket or be damn close. And if I'm out, we're not going to do it. And you can just see him time and pace his innings beautifully.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. He did a fantastic job. He probably might have contributed to Kohli's getting out. The one thing I'll say about Dhoni, he has been a little bit slow in comparison to other brands of one-day cricket. The one advantage that India have had, and we've not really mentioned it, their attack in the ODIs has been exceptional.
Yeah.
Look at the scores Australia have been getting. 220, that ain't going to cut the mustard in the summer. You know, these scores, they're not big enough when they come to England to be anywhere near competitive. The Indian bowlers have been absolutely fantastic throughout. They've got a very balanced attack. And for me to turn around and say India might have the strongest pace attack in world cricket at the moment is something I thought I'd never actually hear. But, you know, it just shows how well that unit's bowling at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've spoke about, isn't it, Rob? And it's incredible. They could put a couple of different bowling attacks out and they would still be nearly top of the world when it comes to that bowling. So, yeah, again, more embarrassing Richards. So.
Too many Richards. Also, I watched this game. I watched the highlights of it anyway. And Chahal was superb bowling his spin as well, mate. Just the control that he had. The Australian batsmen are already behind the 8 ball from the great seam bowling as well, so they really do need to push on when the spinners come on, and just too good. It's not a good Australian team, we know that, but the Indian team is really good.
There were, I mean, and the big difference between the two, the middle overs, Australia have said over and over again, we're not very good at getting singles, we're not very good at rotating the strike in the middle overs, and it showed. They looked like an England team of old, and that it was boundary or dot. And, you know, they've got to improve in that area. I'm sure they will come the summer. But, you know, at the moment, they've got some work to do. Whereas India looks strong.
Yeah, big time. Worth just mentioning Australia. I think we mentioned it before, but they're going to be hosting Sri Lanka next at the Gabba. 2 test matches at the Gabba, in Australia, I should say. 1 at the Gabba, 1 in Adelaide. A little bit of news that's come out today. Tim Payne, obviously, everybody's favourite new-look Australian captain. You've now got Pat Cummins and Travis Head as joint vice captains for the 2 tests. So I don't know if one's going to do one and one's going to do the other, or if they're just going to have a little chat every time they need to do a vice captain. You know, who's going to collect the subs in?
Committee.
Yeah, exactly. They might, swap the jobs around. Who's going to collect money one day? Who's going to pay the tea lady? Yeah. All those sort of things. So yeah, it's interesting to see how they are still rotating it whilst they are trying to fight their way and find their way, aren't they? As what sort of team they are and how they're going to present themselves to the world. So there you go. Pat Cummins and Travis Head, vice captains for the 2 test series against Sri Lanka. I reckon we need to kind of start wrapping up a little bit. And something that's been really, really big news today was the ICC Awards, otherwise known as the Virat Kohli Award season. He wrapped everything up, mate. He has got King Kohli. He's taken it all. He's got the Sobers Award, the Cricketer of the Year. He's got the Test Cricketer of the Year Award. He's got the ODI Cricketer of the Year Award. Virat Kohli, it was all about him. worth mentioning, Kagiso Rabada, the South African quick, who obviously we're big fans of, I'm sure everyone else is. He was runner-up in both the Sobers Award and the Test Player of the Year Award. And ODI, a young Afghani, Rashid Khan, love that man, but he did have a tough paper round as a kid. He can't be a young lad, can he? We say it every time. He must be at least 35. He's runner-up in the ODIs as well. So, emerging player, we've just been speaking about him, Rishabh Pant, the Indian wicketkeeper batsman. So, pick the bones out of that, gentleman.
Well, it's an interesting one and very well deserved by Kohli. You know, I mean, you just look at his stats across the year. They've had some hard series as well, and he's just managed to be successful at home, away against strong sides. I can't really fault him on that one.
Incredible player.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, as an Englishman, I was a bit sad to see that there were no England Test players in the Test team of the year. But I think that there's a reason for that. I think generally not one of them stood out massively. They've all taken turns to stand up and win games. So that might be why there's none of them there.
What do you reckon, Rob, then? Virat deserving?
Oh, massively deserving. He's the best multi-format cricketer in the world. Does it all around the world. I was talking last podcast. We did our top 5 predictions and top 5 players 2018. He was up there, right? He's 3 years on the trot. He's made the top 10 lists of most combined runs across all 3 formats. The guy's, he's a stud. He's a leader. He's got a great beard. And he's probably got the best chance of leading India to a World Cup win on away territory this year.
Yeah, absolutely. He deserves everything he gets. Let's have a look. Team of the year. Now, last pod we actually did our team of the year, and it shows we know stuff, Rob. The opening batsman, the opening pair. Who would have got Tom Latham and Dimov Karunaratne?
Well, I think we did.
We did.
Yeah.
We kind of whiffed a little bit after that in the middle order. We did get Henry Harvey-Nichols. We did give him a good mention, as Kane Williamson, but they didn't quite make our 11. But obviously Virat Kohli did, and he captains this team. But yeah, so you got Virat Kohli, Tom Latham, Karunaratne, Kane Williamson, Henry Harvey-Nichols, Rishabh Pant, the wicketkeeper, Jason Holder, West Indies captain and all-rounder, Kagiso Rabada, Nathan Lyon, JJ Bumrah, and Mohamed Abbas. We nailed the bowling line up there, Rob. We got all 4 of those boys. So that's a pretty good 11. I was a little bit surprised about Jason Holder, but it just shows you what a job he's done with West Indies this year.
Yeah, we got 7 out of 11 there, mate. Plus we had Williamson and Nichols in the honourable mention category as well. So I think we did pretty good out of that, but it's not a team you'd want to face every single week, I know that.
No, you wouldn't, would you? At all, you'd be backing off and just cutting everything anyway, wouldn't you?
I'll be stood on square legs, toes as usual, Rob, aiming for cover point.
Squirming one.
It's a hell of a team, and it is a little bit disappointing that England didn't get more players in, but it's England's problem this year has been consistency, and like you said, it's been different people rising up at different points. There's not one player you can look and go, hey, he scored 1,200 runs. Or the only one that I really would have made a point for, and we put him in the honourable mentions, is Jimmy Anderson. He's had a fantastic year, 48 wickets. But can you put him ahead of Mohamed Abbas, who averaged 13 with the ball, or Rabada, who got 50-odd wickets? It's hard.
No chance, mate. Or Bumrah's fifers all over the world. We can't do it, mate. That bowling lineup is locked in, isn't it? Nathan Lyon as well. It's absolutely locked in. I'm looking back now, and I'll be honest with you, I think the only change I would have made is I would have kicked out Joe Root and put Kane Williamson in. That was probably an oversight in our half. But Rishabh Pant, Jason Holder, Henry Harvey-Nichols, they've are all obviously worthy additions to it, but I can see how we didn't put them in there. So moving over to the ODI team of the year, Virat Kohli again is the captain of that team. He's in there with fellow Indian Rohit Sharma, who's still striking the ball as well as he's ever done. Johnny Bairstow, Joe Root, a couple of Englishmen in there. Ross Taylor, the Kiwi. Joss Butler is put here as wicket-keeper alongside Ben Stokes. That's just the 4 Englishmen in there. Mustafa Rahman, I believe it's the Bangladeshi player, Rashid Khan, the Afghani, Kuldeep Yadav from India, and JJ Bumrah as well. So that's your white ball 11. And just before I let you guys jump back in, knock of the year, Aaron Finch, 172 off 76 versus Zimbabwe in, I believe, Harare.
I'm going to make one little step on this one-day international team, and I want to talk about Ross Taylor, and it's just because I've been getting my head into this India Black Caps series over here, which is huge, right? It's 2 of the probably top 4 one-day international teams in the world. I think there's actually 2 and 3 at the moment, but Ross Taylor had an eye operation all the way back just after the World Cup, and I was watching Ross Taylor then, and I was like, he's probably got another 6 months to a year left in him as an international cricketer. He was struggling. He wasn't Ross Taylor that he used to be. But since that eye operation, since that World Cup, he's got the second highest average in one-day international cricket, only behind Virat Kohli. He's an absolute machine, banging out the runs left, right and centre, and quite rightly so, in this lineup.
Yeah. Did he have this operation before or after he played for Notts for a little while?
It was before Notts.
Okay. So, he did all right, bless him. He did all right.
It was a difficult start to the championship season, though. If, as I recall, everyone was pretty much just getting low scores.
Everyone's been struggling, and again, it's difficult for overseas players coming over to England to play in May and April, isn't it?
Yeah. Ross Taylor was the only bloke scoring runs start of the year, wasn't he? Not.
Well,
but that's cracking, isn't it? It just shows you, mate. Get your eyes sorted. That's been my excuse for about 20 odd years back in batting.
But again, it's a strong Indian and English feel to this one-day international team. I'm surprised there wasn't more Kiwis in there, but England, India, you've got to put those down as the top two favourites for the World Cup coming up.
100%. Somebody that won't be involved, sadly, because the ICC is a joke. Scotland batsman Callum McLeod, he won the Associate Cricketer of the Year. Incredible batsman. He got 157 against Afghanistan in the World Cup qualifiers. 140 against England, if you remember as well, when England played up against Scotland, up in Edinburgh at the start of last summer. So what a talent. Obviously, for one reason or another, we're not going to get to see that, though.
It's a shame.
Yeah, exactly. And just to mop up the awards as well, gents, Spirit of Cricket, Kane Williamson. What a nice Kiwi he is. All-round good gentleman. I was just thinking whether or not to remember little 12th man thing. The old comedy tapes that we always used to go on about.
Yep.
There's one of the later ones, and he was talking about Richie was talking about Ricky Ponting, and he just went, great Australian, fine batsman, super person. Wouldn't take me much to turn for him. One of my favourite bits. But yeah, Kane Williamson, Spirit of Cricket, and most important award, forget your Virat Kohli, Umpire of the Year, Kumar Dharmasena. That's what you're tuned in for.
Marvellous.
That puts a pin on it. That's wrapped that up, Rob. No more awards. So, taking us to the end with, obviously, a joy to be joined by Mr. Tall. Google Chris Tall.
Absolutely.
So thanks a lot for jumping on again today. Isn't it lovely, Rob? Is this the first time you've been on with Chris?
It is, mate. A busy man with babies.
I'm just going to put it out there, mate. This is the first time we've had a three-way on the podcast.
Bloody hell!
I saved the it's past the watershed now, but yeah.
That's terrifying. I think we just need to start again. So anyway, so on that beautiful little note from Rob, I am a little bit worried about you. I think one of the last couple of pods as well, mate, there's been a couple of little comments as well, so I'm a little bit concerned about you at the moment. But anyway, Chris is going to wrap us up. He's been stumbling around the internet. That's probably a bad time for me to suggest such a thing. But what did you find?
Wrap it up. As per usual, my Googling goes everywhere. But on the CricBuzz app, there's a lovely thing this day that year. And it reminds me, because I remember watching this, and it was the start of showing where one-day cricket was going to go. 22nd of January, 1987, that famous Englishman, Alan Lamb, 18 off the last over. 18 off the last over. And against Australia, poor old Bruce Reid didn't know what had hit him. 2-4, 6, 2-4. Didn't even need the entire over to beat the Aussies. It was a time when 3 runs an over was considered plenty. And, it just... Whereas now we say 18 runs, that's just a big over. Back then it was ridiculous. I remember watching this as a relatively young man. And, it was fantastic. So... 3 cheers to you, Lammy, and cracking knock.
Too right. It's not bad, is it? That's probably worth about 50 in this day and age, isn't it?
So, yeah.
It is. That's a phenomenal effort. Good old Alan Lamb. I used to like watching Alan Lamb. Alan Lamb and Robin Smith were two players that I really kind of liked back in the day in that English middle order.
Gritty.
Well, they were the ones that when the superb West Indian quicks came, stood up.
Yeah,
stood up. You could be counted. Yeah. And they showed real heart and real strength.
And that today, gentlemen, will do it. So a massive thank you to Christopher Tall for jumping on the podcast.
Thank you, Rob.
Absolute pleasure to have you, my friend. A massive thank you to the co-host, Richie.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
Oh, absolute pleasure, and it's nice to get a fresh voice on the podcast with us. We probably should look to do this more often in the future, a bit like old times.
Yes, as long as you don't make weird comments about threesomes.
I will try my best. But thank you so much for listening, guys. Have yourselves a great week. Till next time.